Right, so I'm sure most of you have heard up until this point the attack on the journalist Andy No. He was covering a protest I believe it was the Proud Boys who were there, and then Antifa showed up as usual, and things got violent, and he basically got beat up pretty bad. He's gonna have, it looks like, he had brain bleeding, which is pretty severe. Not to mention there was other people beat up at this protest as well, pretty severely. And I wanted to make this video mostly to talk about how this violence is a symptom of a much bigger problem in society. I think that Antifa beating people who fundamentally just disagree with them politically is a massive issue in and of itself. But Antifa is just a symptom of a larger problem in society, and that problem in society is Antifa solves their problems through violence. I mean, they're not anti-fascists. Anti-fascists would use reason and evidence. Fascists would do exactly what Antifa does. Fascists would use violence. They wouldn't allow people to organize publicly. You'd have to do it in secret. Which is exactly what people did in Nazi Germany. They would have to organize in secret, right? Or at least in private property. I guess it's the same kind of thing. But what do we do in society to solve our problems? And not only that, almost every problem is we use violence or the threat of violence. Taxes are violence, or most of the time it's the threat of violence. Is that if you don't pay your taxes, we're going to throw you in jail, and if you resist, we'll kill you. Which is exactly what Antifa does. It's you better conform to our system of doing things, or we're going to use violence against you, and if you resist, we're going to use more violence against you. It's something that, ironically enough, we tell little kids how wrong it is to use violence or the threat of violence to get your way or to yell and scream, but that's how we solve almost every problem we have in society as adults. And kids aren't stupid. They're going to, when they're really little, they might not, but once they get, 10, 11, 12, they're going to be smart enough to notice that my parents tell me or my teachers tell me this isn't how we should solve problems, but this is how they solve their problems. Therefore, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Because if you're raising kids and you tell your parents that drinking alcohol is bad for you, you shouldn't do it more than every now and then, and you're an alcoholic or both parents are alcoholics, do you actually think your kids are going to listen to you? Like 99% of kids are going to think you're crazy. And not only that, they're gonna recognize that the way you get your way is through violence or through force. It's not through peacefully negotiating with people. And I know Stefan Molyneux made a video about this yesterday, which is kind of why I'm talking about it. I do think that he really hit the nail on the head, so that's why I wanted to make the video. I was going to make a video on it anyways, but I think that his take was about the best take I've seen, and that people are shocked and appalled that Antifa would go to these lengths to try and get their way. But why are we so shocked and appalled? Like, if you disagree with the fact that we shouldn't have government-funded health care, well, we do the exact same thing to you. We do the exact same thing that Antifa does. If you don't think that people should be forced to pay for whatever government program, forced to fund wars through your taxes, that's a good example for all the people that think that, we should have free health care and we should have welfare and all this stuff. Most people nowadays are anti-war, but taxes are taken from you through force or the threat of force, and you're forced to pay for it. That's exactly how, if Antifa was running society, that's exactly how they would do it. They would have, their set of rules for what's okay and what isn't would be a little bit different, but if you disagreed with them, they'd use violence against you. It's the same thing as what we're doing right now. So, I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that, but if we want to fix this problem, we have to start continuing to teach people when they're young that using violence is wrong, but we have to stop using it in our personal life. We need to privatize as much things as we possibly can, and then the one in 100 things that maybe we need some public funding for, we can do that maybe, but we need to stop using violence to get our way in your personal lives, and then are shocked and appalled that other people are willing to use violence. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. And I would suggest you to go over to Stefan Molyneux's channel, check out his video, because I think he does an amazing job at drawing parallels between this situation and the way we run our society. But the big take-home message is that this stuff's going to continue and continue, and it's going to keep getting worse until it reaches a boiling point, or we acknowledge the fundamental contradiction in how we run society and how we teach kids, which tend to grow up. And you can see that Antifa they were once kids, and I'm sure, as sure as can be, that they were taught that no, using violence is wrong, using violence is wrong. And then they recognize that the people who get their way in society are the people that are most willing to use violence. Look at which religion is the largest growing religion in the world, Islam. Are they willing to use violence? I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them are. Christianity is a shrinking religion. Are Christians willing to use violence? I mean, a very, very small percentage of them, but on an average, they aren't. Atheism is growing in, North America mainly, but are atheists willing to use violence? Absolutely. They want, whenever you point out the flaws of public schools, they'll feverishly defend public schools, and we need public schools for this reason or that reason. That's another video for a different topic for a different day, but the people in society who get their way are the people most willing to use violence or the threat of violence. So my point is that the fact that these groups like Antifa exist is not surprising. It's not surprising at all. In fact, I'm surprised that things aren't worse than they are, to be honest. And I think they're going to continue getting worse until we can deal with this problem. And I haven't played the video yet. Actually, I might just play the video. And I guess viewer beware too, it says. But it's some pretty graphic stuff in that this was the Andy No journalist who got attacked by, it looks like, multiple people. He had milkshakes thrown on him, which rumor has it that it might have quick drying cement on it, which can cause chemical burns, which is pretty serious. But like I said, this kind of stuff, it's just gonna keep happening and keep happening until we can acknowledge just how fundamentally contradictory it is in how we run our society. So I'm not going to go too much further in this video, but like I said, the people in society who are most willing to use violence or the threat of violence are the ones that get their way. Antifa's clearly recognized that, and they're growing, they're getting big. But and the other thing too to point out is that a lot of the mainstream media, almost all of it on the left, but the mainstream media is in its heart left. They're maybe not coming out in full-on support of this, but they're definitely not condemning it, and that's another very scary aspect of this, is the amount of people that are giving in to them is a lot. And staying silent on the issue, on any issue, it means by default that you're just siding with the majority position. And for all the people, that's why I say whenever people are discussing something and they throw out the, don't get too political on this, well, everything's political. And if you're not gonna give an opinion on something, like I said, you're just by default siding with the majority position. If I disagree with the majority position, then you disagree with me. So that's another aspect of this. But like I said, this is something that's going to get worse before it's going to get better. So I would get ready for that. So And the other thing too that I would point out that I didn't on the aspect of it's going to get worse before it gets better. What's going to happen is that they're going to continue ramping up because, like I said, no one calls, or not enough people are calling them out on their stuff, them being Antifa, and they're going to keep ramping up and ramping up. And what's going to happen one time is they're going to piss off the wrong veteran group or one of those kind of groups of, people that are probably armed, and a handful of people are going to get shot and killed or beaten killed. And this time it's Antifa or the leftists, because let's just be honest, they're just far leftists. They're not anarchists or any of these stuff that people are trying to accuse them of being. They're just far leftists. And people are going to be shocked and appalled. And not only that, the reason why I think a lot of the leftist media isn't speaking up on the issue is that they know that Antifa is going to continue ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. And then one day, the right's the people they're attacking, which are overwhelmingly people on the right, they're going to fight back, and because the people on the right are people who are more likely to be armed and probably more likely to be able to defend themselves, the Antifa people are going to get, like I said, the veterans group or the bikers for Trump or, one of those kind of groups. I'm not trying to throw any particular group under the table. It's not what I'm implying, but I'm just using that as an example. They're going to wipe the table with Antifa, and the media is going to come out and be like, we were right all along. It really is the right that's the violent ones. And like I said, the reason why they're doing it is because they can play dumb this whole time, and then when the right finally fights back, they'll be able to claim that it was the right that's the violent ones, when in reality it's just self-defense, basically, and that we can't put up with this anymore. So that's another take-home aspect. Obviously, the first thing that I was talking about, the people who get their way in society are the ones who are always willing to use violence. Number two, when this boils over and the media claims that it was the right that's the bad guys, just remember they're wrong on that. The left continues provoking and ramping up and ramping up. One of these days, the right's going to have to fight back, and when that day happens, just remember, it was the left that started it. So that's about it as far as this video goes. If you liked it, hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.